Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. A quick shout out to all you deep divers, part of the healing revolution here on Peace and Harmony. I appreciate your viewership, and we're going to dive in right now on a important question. I receive a lot of inquiries on really how to get revenge, how to backlash, how to stand up and confront the narcissist or the psychopathic individual in their life. They really want to retaliate. They really want to express a lot of their anger or frustration at these individuals, their disappointment, their dismay. They have catered to them for so long. They have, I know one viewer had been robbed. She had, a lot of her stuff taken from these individuals. They have been parasitic in nature, living off of you, your good heart, your kind nature. Your ability to support them, your ability to nurture them, your ability to listen to them, your ability to reciprocate through love, attention, admiration, and reflecting of all their good qualities back to them, and really not receiving like in return. And, this stage can go on for weeks, months, years, even decades. To the point, where someone really feels that anger and frustration and feeling like they're left empty-handed at the hands of a narcissist or a psychopathic individual in their life. And because of their emotional dysregulation and because of their lack of empathy, the natural human needs, which are, reinforced, what we call emotional reciprocity, is important for fulfillment of those needs. And the covert narcissist, the narcissist as well as the empath or psychopath, will be very adept at gaslighting you and making you feel like your needs are crazy, unimportant, don't matter, don't exist, are stupid, you're stupid for having them. And that is because the narcissist or psychopath does not have an ability really, especially the psychopath, does not have an ability to really feel love, attachment, caring, and bonding. The narcissist, they can have kind of a cognitive love or a cognitive empathy, and really they are only value people to the extent that they keep them in the position with which they desire to be, of higher status, of higher, superior self-importance, especially as it relates to you. And yes, there might be natural give and take and ebb and flow in the relationship where one provides a lot more financially. One, has other roles in the family or the house, and so the roles can be clearly defined. Back in the day, a man was a man and a woman is a woman. Well, it's not so much these days, what we see, most generally two income households, a lot of blurring of the lines between that father can be nurturing and a mother can be the breadwinner. So we see a lot of this give and take. But yet I do receive a lot of inquiries on really how to get back at someone who has really hurt you, abused you, and how do you really retaliate? How do you really get back at them? Well, I don't really believe in like the Shania Twain song. Is it Shania Twain? If he cheats again, it's not going to be on me. I mean, I kind of get the image of her, trying to beat back at just like all the country songs of heartbreak. He's probably with some floozy, at a hotel or in a bar playing pool, and, whatever the story is, he's probably buying her another foofy drink, and he's splashing on some cheap cologne or in the bathroom, $3 cologne, and then slashing his tires, slashing his car, sending him, that sort of, outburst. So realize that, if you argue with a fool, there are two fools arguing. So if you reduce yourself to their anger, their hostility with which, they react in the world, you're basically reacting. And that doesn't get you anywhere. Just having a lot of anger actually can be quite stunting and stifling in your life. People cripple themselves and handicap themselves through vast amounts of anger, disappointment, depression, and all the other anxieties, disorders that tend to go along with trying to suffer and sort through a narcissist or psychopathic emotional, devaluing of your life. So really, revenge really comes at the point when you really are able to understand what has occurred intellectually and in your heart, and know what your best action is. And so really emerging from the denial is your best revenge. No longer giving them excuses, or no longer allowing yourself to be abused. No longer allowing yourself to be treated or talked to in that way. Having zero tolerance, basically what I call raising your standards, because it's so important and it's very serious that if you are allowing yourself to be objectified and dehumanized, talked down to, and just, treated as an object without feelings, emotional needs, realize that those individuals can never satisfy those needs in you. And sometimes it takes people decades before they really realize that, but this is what can cause a lot of depression and even, suicidal ideation. They feel like they're not worth anything, but it's just, the point is that you're not worth to this person. You're not worth anything to this person. You're not worth anything to the narcissist or the psychopath, because they don't have the ability to love. They don't have the ability to have empathy. They don't have the ability to fulfill your needs. They just don't. Even though they might appear charming, even though they might appear, like with this high profile position or money or status or wealth or fame, or, they were a smooth talker to you earlier in your life, or they opened up the door for you. They bought you a lunch, a dinner. They took you on a vacation, a hotel. It doesn't make this person the right to rule your life. And that's what ends up happening is the codependent gets kind of, set up in a role to be objectified. And, like the Annie Lennox song, some people want to be abused, some people just want to be abused by you. And, if you are part of really healing, you don't want to stick around for the abuse. So you really need to cut your losses, fall on your sword, so to speak, admit that you had made a grave mistake by being with this individual. And you can tell them that. I firmly believe in making a declarative statement. If you need to go no contact, just go no contact. Sometimes you don't even need to make an excuse. You just know. And you need to go no contact, which means not talking to them, emailing, texting, pictures. You're just separating. You need to do this to restore your humanity and your faith in yourself and your faith in life. And realize that because this individual had taken advantage of you, it doesn't mean that everyone else is going to take advantage of you. It doesn't mean that you're, a horrible person for suffering the abuse. It's time to extract yourself. It's time to get out of that area. It's time to, start associating with some different kinds of people. Those are not, and oftentimes the narcissist will kind of hang around in similar circles, whether it's at a workplace, whether it's a specific industry, whether it's specific community. A lot of these people can kind of gravitate, like attracts like. And if you found that you're not a narcissist abuser, you're not a psychopath, you have a heart, you have a mind, you have an emotional body, you don't belong basically, taking the abuse. You're not going to feel a sense of belonging and emotional reciprocity and mutual fulfillment of your needs. It's time to stand up to them. And, if you need to be declarative, you can just tell them, I'm not just a tool, and go to the hardware store if you need a tool. I'm not just an object. If you need an object, go to the shelf and clean something over there, because, you're not going to clean me out emotionally. You can come back with these sort of statements, which need to be firm. If you need to really just tell someone, stop. Eventually, even just the word stop with a knowing look, is going to speak volumes to them, because eventually they're going to keep going on their narcissistic and psychopathic abuse. And most oftentimes the abuse comes from being objectified. It comes from being negatively validated. It comes from feeling the plague of self-doubt, or really, a lot of the talking down to, the humiliation, and the yelling, the anger, the hostility, kind of the rage, the narcissistic or psychopathic rage that they feel, because they really don't feel a sense of love or bond or connection, but they feel that connection when they're able to overpower you. So when they come out with that narcissistic rage, which is they always have a lack of empathy. They don't care who they're hurting. All they know is when they yell at you, it works. If they can shut you down, if they can get you to go, mow the lawn, do the grocery shopping, drive them places, or, concede to them, yeah, you're right, by yelling, then, they have just won the battle. And they are very much into winning. And it is all about a win for them. And it's very superficial. What win means to them basically just means that they're right. They're right, they're right, they're right. And they will fatten up the goose. They will basically keep people around for as much as you can. That person will take from them. And I've seen this happen again and again. They will keep people strung along in marriages. Until, this person either gives up, freaks out, kills themselves, because they can't stand it anymore. And yet these people are so, they're so kind of enmeshed in the scene, they can't see the forest for the trees. It's like, because that person is always around, they can't ever get away from the negative, toxic vibrations, thoughts, insinuations, negative treatment. And then it's, interfused with, a kiss here, I'm here for you there. There's intermittent positive reinforcement. And they will, they will take down people who are bigger than them, taller than them, richer than them. They, will just try to take people down. It's very sad. It's very sad. And once you can separate from that and really go no contact and, let them know, I'm not your employee. I've seen, and you're probably going to laugh at this, but, narcissists and psychopaths who literally treat their family, their constituents, the people who are in, their family, they're kind of like they're an employee. They kind of, the way that they objectify them, they almost look at them as if, you're this profit center and you have to do this, or you have to do this for me, you have to do that for me, with no attention to your true needs, with no attention to your true personality, with no acknowledgement, positive validation of who you are. They just are not cognizant of that. They're not conscious of it. They're always going to treat you as if you're something different than who you are. And that is what's so dehumanizing, and it's very serious. And you need to go no contact. You need to get away, even if it's a bold statement, even if it's moving, even if it's, telling them, I don't want, sometimes telling them off will be very declarative for you, because you'll have sealed the deal to them, because there's not going to be a closure with these individuals. It's not going to be like you're shaking hands and parting ways and I'm sorry. It's not a mutual thing, because they don't have a mutual need. They don't have a mutual need to have an understanding and a forgiveness, and they're not going to oftentimes have recollection. Especially the psychopathic individual, they're not going to really remember that they did anything wrong. They could have been on drugs, they could have been on alcohol. This can go on for months and years, where, you have alcoholics and drug abusers who they don't remember. They might be blackout drunk. They might be stone out, where they have such a fog, in their life. They don't, but, psychopaths also, they don't have kind of an emotional, because of their neural wiring and their brain regions, they just don't hold on to emotional content the way that most people do. They don't really remember things the way that they don't remember the emotional content of what was said. They don't really relate to even the emotional content in things like music or movies or things like that nature. They just kind of get a overall very superficial, perspective on things. And so if you felt this, that there's just kind of a very, very superficial attachment with this individual. They're not really kind of there. They might be physically there. They might, flash one of these smiles where, the eyes are down. It's not even a smile. It's more just like they're baring their teeth. They don't have kind of a happiness or joy that emanates from them. They will say things to, blur your boundaries and take advantage of your sexual boundaries and not respect your sexual boundaries. And then this leads all to the gaslighting. And so if you need to, stand up to them, you really do need to tell them You just need to really get a very emotional, calm neutrality and difference, which comes from acceptance that this is, you're dealing with someone who is really not human. You're dealing with someone who is an abuser. You're dealing with someone who has made you unhappy, or who, let's just say, you're unhappy around, and it's not working. And you're not falling back. You're not going back. You have committed. You have to commit to the decision to move forward. If you are going to try it and see how it goes, you might as well just continue on with the abuse and continue the denial and continue lying to yourself and to this individual, because until you fully commit, when you know that you know that you know, when you've seen what you've seen and you stop disbelieving yourself, when you stop discrediting yourself, when you stop, invalidating what you know in your heart, and you finally embrace what's in your heart, and then you appreciate yourself and have gratitude for that, and that it is the way it is. And this could perhaps be one of the largest lessons you've ever lived in your life, you've ever learned. Lessons learned, recovery journal. Lessons learned. What is your lesson? What did you need to learn from this life experience and from this individual? What did you need to get out of this? What did you need to arrive at? What did you need to assess? What did you discover from this? What is your life lesson? Can you write it out? Can you write out 5? Can you write out 10? Can you continue, please, to have this an open page in your journal? Continue to write the lessons learned. And you're going to realize once you do this, you'll have it written down on paper and you'll have it for reference. You will have it so that you can reflect back on it and go, okay, that's right. And you will remind yourself, what's more important than you and your healing right now? I think it's very important, especially if it's caused you a lot of emotional problems, health problems, financial problems, career problems. I mean, let's be real here. And so it's important not to sugarcoat it. It's just to say, these are my lessons learned. And then to basically really stand up to them, you need to relate to them with a complete objectification, which means very fact-based, almost the way that they treat you, very objective. If this person has a name, I wouldn't really call them by their name anymore. If this person has a relationship to you, and they're quote unquote mother or a father and they've abused you, they're not really your true mother and father now, are they? So then don't refer to them by that name. If you have, this has been someone in your work life who has tried to ruin you financially and emotionally and professionally, this person is not your colleague. This person is not your mentor. Then, draw the line. And if you are sick of having your sexual boundaries violated, and they say, do you want to get together? You just tell them, yeah, and walk away, or just do something, or, tell them no and walk away. And if they say, if they ask you a question, just answer something that completely does not relate to what they're talking about, and do not look at them in the eyes. Do not give them any eye contact. Do not listen to them. Do not attend to them, because that's how they continue to break you down and continue the gaslighting. So to really get revenge, you just have to let them know, do you want to get together? If you need a tool, go to the hardware store. Do you want to get together? If you need another object, just go to Macy's. If you need something, to lean on, go get a pillow. I mean, just literally, but don't cuddle them, don't nurture them. Be very firm and very clear when you go no contact, that you know what you know. You've exposed them for the violator and the perpetrator that they are, and that you're no longer subjecting yourself to this. I know it's difficult, and a lot of the addiction, the brainwashing, the hypersexual arousal is going to continue, and you're going to perhaps be drawn back or hovered back or made to feel like you should go and talk it out with this person. That is not the answer. That just gives them more of a reason. The only message you're sending to the psychopath or the narcissist is that, you're more important than I am. And I'm still under your manipulation. So they, again, just still continue to feel like they have won. So, it's time that you stop. It's time that you stand up and really admit the treatment that you have received. And with the people who are the flying monkeys who don't see it, who don't know it, don't listen to them because they don't know your reality. They don't know what you've been through. You know your reality. You know what you have been through. And if you have a tendency to over-perceive or over-catastrophize things, then acknowledge that. But once you know that you know, and you know certain things that are not good for you, it's then important for you to cut your losses, cut your ties, admit that you've made a grave mistake with this individual, and don't be afraid to tell them to their face. I've made a grave mistake by having a relationship with you. I was an extreme misjudge of character. I thought that you were a good person. I thought you were helpful. I thought you were supportive. And I realized, you are none of these things. And I am sorry. For that, I am sorry. And then you move on. Move on. You'll send the message loud and clear. And, you will stop the Hoover attempts. And you'll be able to move on with your life. I know people who I've worked with who have been stuck for months and years after trying to leave these individuals. And you've got to get out of the rut. You've got to get out of the house. You've got to get out of the funk. It's time to do it. It's time to rehumanize. It's time to work your recovery journal. It's time to go on your recovery dates. It's time to trust yourself and trust life again and trust love and know that the road will rise to meet you when you rise up and ascend over the abuse that was inflicted upon you from such individuals. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.